Hello everyone, Lawrence here with the iFI Micro iDSD Black Label. Now for those unfamiliar with this product, let's first of all tell you what it is. And it's a lot of things. So first of all, this device in this box right here is a USB power bank, so it can charge your phone. That's boring. Anyway, it's also a USB digital to analog converter. So for you audiophiles out there, this will turn your digital signal into something you can actually hear using headphones or speakers or whatever. It's also an amplifier, so it can take that signal that it creates and then amplify it to your headphones or your speakers or whatever. So it's basically three things in one, and it has a bunch of extra features. So if we just look at this box, it's an octa-speed DSD 512 double speed DXD. It can do 32-bit audio and a whole lot of extra things as well. I mean, it does MQA audio, so that's basically master quality audio, so the highest quality recording possible. It used to just be called hi-fi, nowadays it's called MQA or something. Anyway, it has a bunch of extra labels here. What was particularly interesting to me is that this turbo label is just a complete rip-off of the Porsche turbo label on the cars. So actually, that's pretty offensive to me personally, but whatever. It also has the 3D and the X-Base features, which I'll talk about later because they are interesting, although not perhaps useful. And then on the side is just a side view of the product. Some more stuff on the back as well. Now, it's actually a fairly nice unboxing experience, as you can see right here. It comes with a very simple instruction and warning booklet, some silicone, business cards, and these are also used for your what are these for? Actually, for registering your audio and stuff. It has two extra boxes, and I find this to be quite interesting because I haven't actually showed the product to you guys yet. It's just me talking about what's in this box. But what's in here is a little USB, like the square USB to the rectangular USB. As the sun goes away, this video gets dark. I don't care. And then we also have square to rectangular. It's the exact same thing. I don't know why it's included twice. Every reviewer has been talking about this. No idea why it's done like that. And then you also get two more things. So first of all, a tiny little 3.5 jack cable, so you can use this with your smartphone, as I'll show in just a bit. And then there's also a coax to optical adapter for people using optical or coax audio. There's a second box. I hope I'm going to be able to put this all together again. I'm making quite a mess here. In this second box we have tiny little rubber thingies. No idea what they're for. We have an RCA 2-channel cable, so for your audio, if you need one. Chances are, if you're into this sort of stuff, you already have those cables. We get a little carrying pouch, quite nice. We also get those Livestrong armbands, but these are actually to put around the device so you can attach your phone to it, as I'll talk about in just a bit, because let's get to this device itself. As I said, this is the iFi Micro iDSD Black Label. Now, the first thing I noticed, the labels are orange. They're not black labels. I mean, the iFi label is black, but most of the labels are orange. It's just pointless to talk about really, but it's just, it kind of got my attention. So I figured I'd mention it. Anyway, so this is the device. On the side here you get that USB port for charging your phone or whatever media player you're using with it. And then on the front you have the obvious. So first up there's the big audio jack at 6.3mm, which it comes with an adapter, so you can adapt to normal 3.5mm. And then in the middle is a 3.5mm input that you use with this little guy. However, you don't have to. Given that this is a digital to analog converter, I think it's pretty stupid to use it with the little audio cable. I mean, sometimes there's no other option, but in this case I find it a bit weird to do that. And then there's the volume dial. Now the volume dial is incredible. Listen. That is what a volume dial should sound like. So the first step just turns on the device. And then you can see there's a tiny little green LED over here. And from there on it's just volume adjustment. And then next to it are the two extra buttons for the 3D audio and the X bass. Now basically the way I find these work is the X bass adds a little bit of bass, as you would suggest, you know, X bass, extra bass, whatever. And then the 3D audio has quite a different effect. So what that does is it actually seems to boost the treble a little bit, but at the same time it makes the treble a little bit more distant. So depending on what we're sort of recording you're listening to, if it's just music, it's sometimes really odd to use. In games and in movies I can quite enjoy it actually, but especially in classical music it just makes everything sound a little bit too distant, and I don't like it for that. In more like punk and metal, I kind of like it. In some songs, it's really dependent on the songs. It's a switch that you might be flicking a lot, and just listen. It sounds pretty cool, so therefore, you know, it's a nice to have option. It's not something that I would buy this product for, but it's nice that you have these buttons. If you just turn them on both at the same time, it kind of just adds a bit of a V-shape to your frequency response curve. That's kind of what it does, but then the 3D audio definitely makes things sound a little bit more distant, which sometimes works really well. But if you have, especially if you have headphones that kind of play audio as if it's playing from inside your head, it'll kind of muffle and boost the treble at the same time. It's really weird to say, but it just makes it a little bit less clear and it makes it seem more distant, but at the same time it's still coming from inside your head with those headphones. So again, use it with the right or at the right moment and you'll be happy. Moving on to the back of this device, this is where the USB input is. And this is where I'm gonna critique the product fairly, I guess. It's a Type A male port, so the cable you need for this is one with a female port, so like a normal extension cable. The worst thing about it, it's super bright blue. Now I have already said to iFI, why is the cable blue? It literally matches nothing. Hopefully they'll fix it and just include a black cable. But what I would really like to see is just a Type C port. It's 2019 now. Why are we using such a really weird connector? And especially because it just adds bulk, it's just really weird looking. Maybe it was cheaper to do it this way, but please just include a Type C port. And then next to it is just your optical or coax, depending on whether or not you use this little guy, and your RCA outputs. Moving on to the back of the black label, more orange labels. There are also black labels on here and they're incredibly difficult to read, and so from this angle I can't possibly read them. Basically, I'll go over it quite quickly. You have a direct output, so if you want to use the rear output, the RCA outputs, you can have it direct or you can set it amplified. So pre-amplifier or direct, whatever you want. If you set it to amplified, then you can control the volume with this button. If you don't amplify it, it's just the DAC functionality without amplification going on. Pretty handy. I actually use this one all the time myself because I have it plugged into my speakers on the back and then I plug it in to my headphones on the front. Really handy to use the device this way. Also very satisfying but not very clicky. I don't know if you guys even care. And then another really important feature, because I mean, it is hand-sized, phone-sized. It is intended to be used on the go. And so there's also a little switch right up here for in-ear monitors. So how sensitive they are, if they are not very sensitive or they're incredibly sensitive. There's a 3-position switch right here. And then you can just set it to the sensitivity of your in-ear monitors to reduce noise and all that sort of stuff. And then there's a filter option. Again, rubber button, 3 positions. Doesn't make noise, so I can't really show that part, but it just adds some clarity to your audio, so you can have it set to standard, minimum phase, or bit perfect. I have mine set to bit perfect during all of my testing, and usually that was what I kind of preferred. I tried the other modes. Honestly, it's a very, very small difference between the modes, but you can notice it. Then there's a polarity switch. That's just a 2-position, duh. And along with a power mode, which is my second kind of annoyance with this product. It does come with a nice red button though, so you can't possibly miss it. But the power mode has the Eco button, a normal mode and a turbo mode. Basically, you want to be using the Eco mode as often as possible because, as I said, there is a battery bank built in, and the battery bank powers this thing when you're on the go in eco mode. The thing is, and the annoying thing is, and I actually did ask for clarification on this in my email to iFI, when you're using it in normal mode or in turbo mode, it uses the battery power while you're actually connected to a computer or phone over USB, which is incredibly annoying because what will happen eventually, the battery will run out, despite it being plugged in. Now, I've tried plugging it into a high power USB port on my PC and even boosted the amperage that would come out to just basically fry this thing, but still the battery would drain eventually. That said, I was using 600 ohm headphones, so maybe it's my own fault. So maybe you kind of want to use this one with like low impedance or medium impedance headphones, so you don't have to use that turbo mode. If you're gonna have it constantly plugged into your desktop PC, this is not the device to buy. iFi even mentions it on their website, like look elsewhere if it's gonna be plugged in 24/7. However, to save this battery from dying a very boring death, it only charges up to 80% if it's plugged in constantly. It detects it automatically and then, only up to 80%, which is great to save battery. But again, it does mean then that it kind of drains faster when you're using it in turbo mode, which you shouldn't all the time. But, again, it's a bit of a weird thing. And as for a device at this sort of price point, it's over 600 euros. I was kind of expecting a little bit more out of it, maybe just functionality. I mean, there is room for yet another switch to just say, don't charge the battery, and then have it be able to draw more power over USB. That would have been nice. Now, anyway, there are a bunch of black labels on here and on the packaging, and I haven't really mentioned all of them yet. So PCM audio, that's like the fairly standard audio that everyone uses all the time. It supports that, obviously, but what's really interesting is it has DSD and DXD support. And for those who don't really know, those are almost proprietary Sony super high quality audio streams. They sound incredible, although some people will say you can't actually hear the difference between an MP3. There's always those people. But they sound incredible, incredibly detailed, and so if you want to use it with a DSD player, you can easily use this. But also the main thing on the box is it has this MQA label right here, so if you're using just Tidal for your streaming, for example, and you want to listen to those master recordings, then that MQA or master quality audio will really come in handy, because you can get insane audio quality out of this guy if you pair it with the right headphones. Now, talking about the right headphones, I already mentioned you can drain the battery with 600 ohm headphones, but it can actually power them without them sounding muffled or anything. So it's really powerful amplifier wise, and it's a very good DAC in here. Also, it doesn't really color the audio in any sort of way that I was able to perceive with these two ears. It's a very neutral sounding DAC and amplifier. Obviously, it's a digital one. There aren't any tubes involved, so it doesn't really change the sound all that much, if at all. Alright then, so time to conclude this review on the iFi Micro iDSD Black Label, and this label is indeed black. It's really good for use on the go. Perhaps if you travel a lot, this is just the DAC amp combo to get. And in an emergency, you can actually charge your phone with it as well. So it's definitely awesome for audiophiles on the go, maybe even for professional use. But if, like me, you're always behind the desk, don't get it, just get something else. That's basically the conclusion. It is an amazing little device. It's incredibly well built, it looks good, it's like really solid, and it's gonna suck having to give it back, but if you guys want to buy one, I'll even put a link in the description so you can just get one and I'll get a small kickback. Anyway guys, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video, which probably won't be about audio.